I'm going to go ahead and call this all virtual meeting to order. The grant committee members we have in attendance currently, and we expect everybody to be on here. I see Delegate Sewell, Mr. Washington, Mr. Spencer, and Mr. Tillman. So thank you guys for being here. So we do have a quorum at this point. Also want to welcome all who have joined us for this meeting. So thanks for being here with us. I don't know, Charlie, if you want or who's going to share the slides so everybody can see what our order of business is. But I can
Apologies,
go
I
ahead
thought my
and
slides were still sharing. I guess the switch over maybe made that not happen. Are we seeing the slides now correctly?
yes, thank you.
There you are. Yes, thank
If you go
you.
on to the next one, our first item of business today is approval of our September 26, 2025 grants committee meeting. They were posted on the website as always. Do I hear a motion to approve these minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Spencer. Do I have a second?
A second, Michael Tillum.
Thank you, Mr. Tillum. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. Any abstentions? Okay, our meeting minutes have been approved. Next item on our agenda is our update from our Director of Operations, Charlie Linicombe. So I'm going to turn it over to Charlie now.
Dr. Thomas, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we have Senator Pillion on speakerphone as well.
Sorry, Sarah.
That's okay. We went ahead and got going just a little bit while we were waiting. So you didn't miss much. Thanks for being here. Okay.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Hop right in. So to start off with a brief update on grant operations. For our city and county awards, all of our award packages have been completed and distributed. We're currently tracking the acceptance of award and the related contingency documents from cities and counties. Thus far, as of last week, 27% of the awards have completed the necessary steps to have funds transferred. Excuse me. All of the cities and counties have completed their carry forward true ups for the previous year. And those have been reviewed, and we're in the process of sending notification letters through the grants portal. We are currently reviewing the FY25 annual reports, and all of those have also been turned in. On state agency awards, all of the MOUs for the 25-26 performance period have been distributed. We're reviewing their carry forward true up. We still have one outstanding with an approved extension, working through a reporting issue with them. And then we're also just received our annual reports, except for two that also are outstanding with approved extensions, working through some issues with them. And we'll be working on those just as soon as we finish the carry forward reviews. Just a kind of reminder on the calendar. You can see circled up top in the purple is today's grants committee meeting. The next grants committee meeting is scheduled for January 20th in Richmond, likely at the General Assembly building. More details on that will be forthcoming soon. And then we've previously had June 4th as a scheduled meeting for the grants committee. And I just want to note that may change to coincide with the foundation's conference this year. We're working out the details on that. And then we'll have another one in the latter part of September of next year to stay on our cadence. So, and just since this is an all virtual meeting, the one in January will be an in-person meeting, and we'll have a hybrid option, and we'll be working with the committee members to ensure we have the required in-person quorum. I want to give an update on the grants compliance program. So we're working through developing a process by which, basically to confirm all of the things that have been reported to us through applications and various reports on these programs. And those are going to be called operational reviews. You could consider them audits, but it's really OAA staff going out to work with and see these programs in action and look through information that's been provided to us and look for substantiation of things. So like what's going to be included, it'll be a pre-scheduled site visit. We'll have a questionnaire for them to answer to help us figure out what we need to look at and what the time frame we need. We'll be looking at where they are with their objectives, progress, evidence of progress or completion. We'll be looking at reviewing their performance measure data, how they're combined, pulling that together and keeping it separate from other similarly related projects, and be looking for a demonstration of some performance measures in action. We'll be doing at least a light review of invoices in comparison to things we see on the annual report. As a reminder, or for those who are newer and don't know, the state's Auditor of Public Accounts (APA) requires the external audit that every city and county has to go through to include a financial review of settlement funds and their uses, including the OAA awards. So in addition to what we'll be doing, which has a much heavier programmatic focus, there is a regular financial review happening every year. And then we'll also review compliance with terms and conditions, contingencies, and any other grant requirements. So that's kind of our framework there, and what needs to be determined of frequency. How often are we going to be going out and reviewing these? We're working on developing a risk model to determine the highest needs for review versus the lower risk projects. We will be developing kind of up to a 3-step process. That is, if the initial review brings out a certain set of issues that may constitute diving further and looking at more information, or potentially if we find something that looks like an issue that may be out of scope to us, then we can refer that to other entities, something like the Auditor of Public Accounts, the Inspector General, Attorney General's office, whatever. As a note, we are not investigators. We are not, law enforcement officers. So if there was a concern about any types of issues around like criminal activity or something like that, that would be referred to the proper authorities, and we would provide, support as needed from there. So we need to make sure we have a process that's in place for reviewing any fraud, waste, and or abuse complaints, which will likely probably somewhat mirror this process, but be focused on what the specific complaint may be. And then so when we do expect, not everybody, even with their best intentions, sometimes gets off track on their projects. So we want to be able to have a performance improvement plan process and make sure that there are key steps for what does that mean with impacts on the award that has some compliance issues. Could there be impacts on other awards and or other processes? Significant issues could prevent the ability to request more funds until things have been resolved. Smaller issues may limit how much funds can be asked for or transferred, kind of coming up with what those recommendations look like. And so what the plan is to do in the winter and spring of this of the year is to try to get this process together. We're also working with a vendor to help us pull some of the information together and get kind of processes written out, as well as guidance for that we can use for the localities, and test it out with the idea that at the board meeting in June of next year, we can bring you kind of a recommended process that we'll be doing this with. So. From there, I guess any questions on the grants compliance program, since it's been a new piece of detailed information. Right.
May
Okay.
I ask a question?
Sure.
I'm a guest, so if that's not appropriate, please let me know.
I think it's fine.
Please, go ahead.
Thank you. I just happen to also be chairman of our city's audit committee. And when you talk about the APA requirement, we're just winding up our city's external audit. So would it be correct to guess that this is for next year's audit, that I need to let them know that the state will want this program audited?
So your external auditors should already be looking at any usage of OAA awards and or any usage of your direct funds. It's part of the guidance that APA issued some years ago. If there's more questions on that, Adam's better equipped to answer that than I am. This would be, and what I'm talking about is an audit that the OAA staff would do and would be coming out to do. And depending on the project as to whether or not it's probably not something we would be doing every year. But every so many years we would be going out to do that. The only reason we would be doing things every year is if there was an issue we were having to track and like a performance improvement issue.
Okay, well, I'll be meeting with them twice in December, so I'll make sure they've done that. Thank you very
Great.
much.
Yep, no problem. Good question. All right. Moving forward, so on to our summary of grant award amendments that have been approved by the executive director. So back in June, Grants Committee and the board approved a policy that allowed the executive director to make administrative adjustments to awards primarily when after a carry forward has been filed, as long as there are certain parameters that are met. And part of that requires us to report out on what has been done. We have a very detailed report that we're happy to share with anybody that's interested and answer any questions. But at a high level, cooperative partnerships, carry forward was adjusted up by about $750,000. And then we kind of have standard categories of what these mean. Some of them have requested some one-time in-scope expenses, such as things like buying naloxone to support the program. 7 have some items that have an item that was not able to get purchased within the previous performance period. So both that revenue and the expense have carried forward. And 9 had a final carry forward amount that was less than the estimate that the grants committee used for approval in June. You can see similar items below for the individual distributions had a decrease overall by about 73,000. They have one other item where there was some one-time expenses, and then that awardee requested to reduce their FY26 award amount by the balance there. And state agencies carry forward increased by about 525,000 with those across those same categories. So next we move into recommendations for amendments to the FY26 awards to cities and counties. So first we have an amendment to the Allegheny County CSB One Stop Substance Use Disorder Continuum Project. This is a cooperative project that Allegheny is the fiscal agent for, along with the city of Covington, and is setting up a one-stop continuum of care in a new building in Covington. I can note that a number of our outreach team and myself got to tour that. Cindy's also toured it. It's very neat. I'm very excited to be able to come up for the ribbon cutting, but it is bringing a lot of things in under one spot in Allegheny for the Allegheny Highlands Community Service Board. This amendment is to modify some performance measures to better align with where the project has ended up since its initial application came through. No change in the amount of the award. And we also have 2 awards for new individual distribution awards. The first is from Amherst County, requesting $57,975 for their opioid abatement task force. And this is the first time Amherst has filed an application, so that is great. Another participating locality. So they're going to be working with Virginia Cooperative Extension to have interactive mobile educational project for parents, guardians, and youth. Learn about the changes, dangers, and consequences of substance use, especially including opioids and other substances. It's a multi-dimensional initiative. And as mentioned, it is focused on the youth as well as their parents and guardians, which is very important for support and continuity. and going to involve a number of people throughout the community. Definitely is an evidence-based practice with things like the Botman Life Skills and Mental Health First Aid that the Virginia Cooperative Extension provides. The other project is from Poquoson City. Poquoson is part of two cooperative projects. This is their first individual project, so another individual distribution going out the door. This is the Heron Project, which is part of the York and Poquoson Department of Social Services and an association with the Poquoson City Public Schools and the Boys and Girls Club of the Virginia Peninsula. It's going to implement and sustain an after-school youth prevention program, promote substance-free lifestyle for the youth in that city. And it's based on this project called the Heron Club, which is nationally recognized and designed to help students make healthy choices, build strong decision-making skills, and develop coping strategies to foster resilience. This program has, I think pieces of this are already in existence in York and are being supported by York County, and Poquoson is now also adding this. This has a lot. This is an established project that it's also modeled, I believe, on some stuff that was done in some Henrico schools as well. And it is an evidence-informed process. There's a lot of data behind it, and there's a lot of evidence of it having a good impact. It just hasn't necessarily had the full evidence-based review. So might be a good candidate for us to submit to the toolkit, but staff doesn't have any concerns about the validity of the program and its impacts. Any questions on the amendment and the new award recommendations? Right. So we also have a summary of updates to the OAA grant and award terms and conditions. So the context is the code requires OAA to establish specific criteria and procedures for awards from the Opioid Abatement Fund, establish requirements for the submission of those funding requests, and evaluate those requests in accordance with that criteria and provisions of the code. So the OAA terms and conditions kind of compile a lot of these items into one document for each award type. They're provided out on the OAA's website and are included in every award package. So the purpose of this update is to provide some recommendations to add a few new items and incorporate a number of other items that have been established in other guidance documents and instructions and things. And so it will allow, in addition to providing us some more structure with the new items, incorporating these other items into the terms and conditions will allow more of a one-stop reference for people to understand where things are, what requirements go along with our grants. And so the effective date for these would be for grants and awards that are made on or after July 1 of 2026. So they would not apply to the ones that are up for consideration today or in January. And that will provide us some time for the cities, counties, and state agencies to review and ask questions, and for OAA staff to provide additional resources like guidance documents and webinars for them regarding the changes. So one of the new items is an acceptance requirement for OAA awards. So this basically establishes a timeline and related actions for cities, counties, and state agencies to accept OAA awards and provide all required documentation so that OAA can transmit funding. We often have a lag after the awards are made, and staff spends a lot of time kind of chasing down and working with our awardees trying to get these processes done. So whether we could be providing probably better assistance for better things if these things were being handled. So this puts in kind of a process for us to be able to follow once the award has been issued. So that means any new awards that are approved for an upcoming year, they would have 90 days to formally accept the award, which means to sign the awards package, and then 120 days to complete and submit all the required documentation. And that would be from the beginning of the performance period, or when the date of the award letter, whichever is later. For any new awards approved during the current year, this would be 60 days to formally accept and sign the award package, 90 days to complete and submit all required documentation. The clock for those would start based on the date of the award letter. For current year amendments, 60 days to formally accept and 90 days for required documentation. Again, based on the date of the award letter. And then for renewals, 90 days to formally accept and 120 days to complete and submit all required documentation. So what happens if those timelines aren't followed? So failure to adhere to the timeline will result in one or more of the following actions. Award will be rescinded by OAA, and the city or county may reapply at the next available deadline. An extension request may be submitted that includes details of the circumstances requiring the extension for the OAA's executive director to consider and potentially grant. The executive director may also allow the award's performance period to continue and amend the award amount to 0 for the current performance period. In this instance, the city or county may request funds as part of the next available and appropriate deadline. But also, if there are issues identified in the OAA's grants portal that are preventing a city or county or state agency from on-time submissions, the executive director can grant extensions on a case-by-case basis, so long as the OAA is notified about these issues by the awardees. We do not hold issues created by the portal against the city or county's performance. Another new item is kind of some enhancements to compliance review language. In addition to our progress reporting, which is provided through our amendment and renewal applications, OAA may conduct outreach, surveys, questionnaires, site visits, financial reviews, and/or performance reviews regarding the project. For cooperative projects, fiscal agent serves as the primary point of contact for all matters in relation to that. And additionally, the recipient understands that failure to maintain compliance with terms and conditions and any other requirements and/or contingencies placed on the award may result in a project being terminated, restricted, modified, required to complete a performance improvement plan, or other remedy. And likely, once the compliance program is fully adopted and in place, there may be some additional additions that we will make to this, and we will bring those back to you at that time. And the last new item is just a paragraph more related to subrecipient and vendor monitoring for any award where the responsibility has been delegated to a subrecipient organization or vendor. The city or county and fiscal agent will ensure regular reporting of activities and achievements, as this data is also required for amendment and renewal applications as well as reports. Questions on any of the new items? Great.
Hey, Charlie, question I do have is, with the timelines, are those revisions of existing items, or basically did we not have timelines before and this is kind of writing sort of those down and sort of set parameters on things?
We have not had specific timelines before, other than we've needed people to be able to accept an award, especially now with the system process, before they have to accept it before they can start a renewal process. And so this was all a little more loose when everything was paper-based. But I mean, we had a lot less awards, but right now we're currently at 118 projects. If the 2 today are approved, that'll put us at 120. That's just for cities and counties. I'm estimating 130 to 150 applications coming in by mid-March, and we usually get about 40 to 45 applications from state agencies. I think we have about 38 active projects there. So it's putting some parameters around that and what should be reasonable for cities, counties, and state agencies to get through the processes that they need to, but also provides some flexibility to the executive director to grant extensions when there are extenuating circumstances that are not the fault of the cities or counties themselves, that trying, much like the delays with the project up in your area for the youth treatment center. It was all the best work, all the best intentions. It took longer to get going. That would be a, kind of an express lane case for to be able to provide extensions on that and or work with you to figure out what the next steps are to make any modifications if needed.
Have we
Charlie, this is
queried
Tony.
have we queried any of the existing grantees, especially the group cooperatives, to sort of say that do these timelines going to create any unanticipated hardships?
I have not queried all of them, but we do have kind of three groups. We have groups that uh, they put their stuff together as soon as as soon as the award's done, they're putting things together, getting things coordinated through their locality or their localities for like a cooperative project, and things get done, within 60 to 90 days. And then we have some that kind of, sometimes we have to check in with, and then they pick everything up and start moving along with it. And then we have some where we're almost having to kind of go, you've got to do it by here. Otherwise, we may have to go back and recommend that it be rescinded. And you'd have to, at that point, because we did not have a process like this, that would mean they would have to start all over again. So, Tony, do you have something else you wanted to add on that?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to, just for clarity, we've got a growing problem of applicants coming to us, turning in an application. You award them the grant. We notify them of the award and ask them to accept it. And then we never hear back from them. And we call and we email and there's no answer. And just accepting the award doesn't require them to meet all the contingencies. This is literally just signing the approval that they want the award. And so we wind up with a huge logjam where we can't move forward and the money is tied up. And so really a best practice in the grants world is that once you've been notified that you've received an award and that you have to accept it, then the next step is, as the recipient, is you accept the award. And this is just putting a little bit of structure into that process.
I can also add that based on discussions I've had with our outreach team, that we're going to be adjusting some of our coaching around putting things, starting to get drafts of operational agreements and subrecipient MOUs kind of put together, not the full flushed out things, but we're finding out people have applied for grants with an assumption of a partnership with another organization, and they haven't even talked to that organization. And then there's an issue there with getting an MOU together in a reasonable time frame. So before we've kind of told people to hold off because we want to make sure the award gets approved before you do a lot of legal work. But so now we're looking for drafts, and draft agreements that may still need to have more multiple things. That should be something more standardly that they should be trying to put together, around the time of their submission. And if need be, we may have to start requiring those things as part of the submission if that needs to help get this along, because we shouldn't be getting applications where that involves multiple localities and everybody's not on the same page. So, okay. So the rest of the items I'm going to highlight are incorporating various instructions and requirements and guidance that we have put together in various places as this process has continued to develop so that they're all incorporated into the terms and conditions. One of which, some of these have been contingencies on grants. Some of these are built into the system processes. Some of them are included in guidance and things. So one of which is ensuring that staff are subscribed to OAA's official form of broad communication to applicants and awardees, which is our Opioid Abatement Authority News Update newsletter, notifying OAA of potential changes, barriers, issues, and intentions related to the project as soon as practically possible so we can provide support and guidance. Submitting applications, reports, signatures, documents through the grants portal. Unless otherwise instructed by staff, Ensuring that OAA documents are signed by the city or county executive or their designee or the state agency head, unless otherwise instructed by OAA. And if the designee is anyone other than the executive or their deputy, providing a document that authorizes the designee to transact in business for the governing body. Should also include, we're getting applications and reports and things that are being signed by people much farther down, and we'll find out that, our apologies, that not everybody above them has been properly notified. So we've had to kind of tighten that process. But we had one submit to us and they said, hey, I need something that shows a delegated authority. And they had a letter that already existed, provided it to us, and we've attached it to their account. So we have that as a reference going forward. Renewed awards that carry forward balances may be used to continue the project while the agency's completing the award acceptance process, so that the renewal year funds can be transmitted. We've run into that where sometimes their accounting departments don't want to allow them to use the funds because the new award package hasn't come through. So the announcement of the award approval along with this should help the programs keep operating. And then when the awards end, there's a requirement for a final report. And so the last annual report will serve for that. OAA has, since the beginning, required separate accounting of funds, but that has not necessarily been completely fleshed out and detailed in the terms and conditions. So that separate accounting of each fund source that's part of an award or project. It includes the non-OAA funds, the OAA funds, and we're not prescribing a specific methodology, whether it's all done through a financial system or there's some done through a financial system, and then there's some type of rubric or guide that helps us see how things go. We just should be able to have someone show us and walk us through how the funds are differently spent and taken care of, because that's how the grants are awarded, and that's how, and the funding coming out of all different buckets has to be properly tracked to ensure we know where the balances are. For amendments, all amendment applications have to have a status update on the project. This is the progress reporting, the amount spent year to date by budget category and fund source, status on their objectives, and the amounts achieved year to date on their performance measures. They always have to stay to be able to eligible for an amendment, you have to be in compliance with terms and conditions. They have to be submitted to the grants portal. And if there's any budget changes on those amendments, they have to obtain approval from OAA. And based on a previously approved policy, budget changes within the current fiscal year and approved scope, OAA staff may provide approval for those. Changes outside the current fiscal year and approved scope have to go through the grants committee. For renewals, requirements, application for renewal is required from the fiscal agent or each city, county, state agency by the end of the application period every year, regardless of the status. If the project is to continue into the upcoming fiscal year, a renewal application has to be filed. That includes status project update, amounts spent year to date, status of objectives, amounts achieved, and may also include amendments. But if they are asking for additional funds for cooperative projects, they have to compete for those. Compliances, they have to be just like the amendments, they have to come through the grants portal and they have to be in a compliant status. Carry forward is only available as part of the renewal process. Those applications must provide projected expenditures by budget line item to help calculate that carry forward item. Those amounts would then be trued up after the end of the performance period, and they have to include a copy to OAA of the ledger, the line item transactions from the accounting system that reconcile, and then carry forward has to be expended or encumbered to 80% before the next year's funds will be transmitted. The uses of carry forward are limited to reduce the amount of funding need for the upcoming renewal year, to support an approved budget item that was not able to be completed in the current year, or to support a one-time purchase of an item or service that is in the current scope of the project. Carry forward is not to be used to expand the scope of a project. that is something that should be handled as part of a renewal application because that needs to go through the competitive review process. Specifically fleshing out fiscal agent requirements. Obviously, one of the partner cities and counties for cooperative applications has to be designated the fiscal agent, and they have to maintain that role throughout the grant, or otherwise the grant will end and a new application has to be filed from a new fiscal agent. Responsibilities include coordinate after a project is awarded, they have to coordinate and execute that operational agreement that talks about how the fiscal agent and the partner cities and counties will go about implementing and administering the program. All the fiscal agent is responsible for all aspects of the project, including coordinating and obtaining information from partners, subrecipients, vendors to meet application reporting requirements. And they have to also separately account for any funds they receive from those partner cities and counties by fund source from their own funds. Fund management, you have to ensure that awarded funds and contingent matching funds are spent in this specific sequence laid out here. And the deadlines, the fiscal agent, city or county is responsible for assuring amendment and renewal applications, as well as any reports are completed accurately and by the due dates prescribed by OAA. And last item is the annual report requirements. They will include but aren't limited to a narrative status update on the project, including goals, achievements, barriers, and solutions, final expenditures for each line item, the finalized carry forward if applicable, and the performance measures achieved. They also have to attach a copy of the city, county, or state agency's general ledger showing those line items transactions, and that amount should reconcile to the amounts in the annual report. And this is part of for the compliance program of what we will use to determine the types of financial things we will look at when we do the site visits. With a cooperative partnership, fiscal agent must provide that general ledger report for each partner city and county that has either expending funds or has provided funds to the fiscal agent for the project. And reports will be due by October 1st of each year. They had been in September, and we got a lot of feedback from localities that was not enough time to pull everything together. So this year we moved them out to October, and that seemed to help getting things in more accurately and on time. So we'll continue that going forward. OAA may modify this date as long as written notice provided to the city or county at least 30 days in advance if for some reason we're modifying that due date to be earlier than October 1st. And as the same here, that last, as in other ones, when the award ends, the annual report for the last year will serve as the final report. Any questions on those incorporated items? All right, next grants committee meeting, January 20th in person, Richmond General Assembly building. I'll have a few more details out on that by early next month. And Madam Chair, that ends my report.
Thank you. Any other questions for Charlie before we move on? Okay, next thing on our agenda is the time where the public can address comments to the grants committee. We do request all comments be limited to 3 minutes. To indicate that you'd like to speak, just please hit your raise hand button on your screen, and our staff moderator will call your name and enable you to speak, and we'll do that one at a time. So go ahead, if you'd like to speak, go ahead and raise your hand.
We have no raised hands.
Thank you, Kara. Appreciate that. So we'll move on to new business at this time. The first item under new business is for the grants committee to consider awards listed on attachment A to the agenda for amendments to current year city and counties awards as recommended for approval by staff in attachment A and as described in the presentation as you've just heard. I do believe we have one staff member that has requested a recusal Ms. Barber has indicated she would like to recuse herself from this item. Ms. Barber?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have a statement you wanted to make?
Yes, I'd like to excuse myself from this, from Allegheny Highlands Community Services,
Okay,
because I do have a conflict with that.
okay,
particular
thank
vendor.
you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So Ms. Barber will be recused from our vote. I will now entertain a motion to approve the block of awards consistent with staff recommendations. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Senator Pulliam. Thank you, Mr. Spencer. We have a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? And we have one abstention. Moving on to our next item for new business is to consider awards listed on attachment A for city and counties for new fiscal year 2026 awards as recommended by staff in attachment A and as described in the presentation. I'll now entertain a motion to approve the block of awards consistent with those staff recommendations. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Tillum. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Spencer. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Okay. And I don't think we have any abstentions, so that has been approved. Our next item for new business is for us to consider approval of the updates to the OAA grant and award terms and conditions as recommended for approval by staff. Those were in attachment B, and Mr. Lennicum went through those in detail. These are effective for awards with a start date on or after July 1st, 2026. I'll now entertain a motion to approve the block, those updates to the OAA grant and award terms and conditions.
So move.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Barber and Senator Pillion. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, like sign? Okay, we have approved those. At this point, I will consider any other items of new business or any motions from our members of the Grants Committee, if you have any. Okay, hearing none, we will move on to a period of time. If there are any comments or discussion our Grants committee members would like to make. I don't hear any takers, so we will move on to our final agenda item, which is adjournment. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Senator Pillion.
Second.
Second. Thank you, Ms. Barber. All in favor of the motion to adjourn our grants meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay.